Good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is Angela Coulter and
Sarah Sieg.
bringing you this week's Ascended World. Whew. Okay. Well, it's so funny because we were like, when we did this, we're like, oh, I don't know. Like, we'll just start with this and see where it goes. So let's just see where it goes, shall we? As we do with many of our topics.
Right, right. And this was last week. So, of course, we'd have to pull all that energy forward through the weekend.
Right, which is always funny because it's like we talk on Fridays. To let you know, we talk on Fridays and we do our what I call the pregame call of, all right, what's our theme? What's been coming up? Blah blah blah, and then we have to live through the weekend to get here.
Right, right. With everything puking up.
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Too.
Oh, good morning, Sandy. Good morning, Laurel. Good morning, Michael. So, yeah. So, where to start? We were talking about the challenge we have. Gosh, I'm trying to remember where the starting point was with that discussion.
I think we can back it up 2 weeks, maybe 3 now, when we started talking about defining success.
Right.
And then we pulled it forward into last week. And last week was
how do we do empowerment?
Empowerment. There we go. So we got success, and then we've got empowerment, and then this week it's like, how do we have it all?
Yeah.
How do we and have relationships and have fun?
Right. Well, and that's the thing, because we started talking about how until we stop delineating work and play, right? And keeping it separate, then we will always have a limitation in both. Right. And so we will always have to switch on and off in one way, in one direction or another, versus saying, because we think, oh, well, this is, grown up stuff. Oh, that's what it was. The inner child discussion.
Yes. Yes.
That's what it was.
Yes. And I looked at that so much this weekend. Huh.
Yeah. Go figure, right?
Right.
So, yeah, it was like this inner child thing. And I had done this reflection on allowing my inner child to come out. Right. And so it was looking at, yes, I play, right? I play, but then there's always this voice. And when I did this deep reflection on it, it was this voice that says, that's enough. That's enough. Got to get serious now. Got to be an adult. And I really
got to go to work.
Got to work. Got to, be whatever, productive. And I realized that there was a strict line
and valuable.
Yes. Right. And all that's on the side of the line of work, which is really interesting. Right.
Right.
Where if you ask my kids, right. So like, all right, so my kids are adults now. Right. But if you ask the kids, when they're growing up and everything, what's the most valuable part of a parent in a child's life is usually when they play together, when they spend time with them.
Right.
It means far more to kids most of the time than, things. Right.
Well, or, oh yeah, you went to work for me.
Yeah.
Said no kid ever.
So no kid ever, right? But
they even say that, on your deathbed, nobody ever says, I wish I'd worked more.
Right. Right. But the thing is also saying that, good morning, Yasmin. We also say that, like we have to have one or the other. So we have this line, it's work or it's play. It's work or it's play. And even though I always say, well, I play when I work because I love my work so much, right? There is a line that I have in my energy that switches back and forth, right?
Right. Well, and you even hear people say, well, if you are passionate about what you do, then you'll always be successful. But be careful and don't take something that you love and try to earn a living at it, because then you'll ruin it. You'll grow to hate it.
Right. Right. Well, then,
and then taking this back to that whole inner child discussion, I remember when we were talking about my reflection back at being the youngest, and I was always too young, too immature, too little, couldn't ride that ride, wouldn't understand that joke, all these different things. And I chose to spend the majority of my childhood wanting to grow up.
Yes.
Always pushing myself. I need to grow up. I need to get,
You want to catch up to your siblings. You want to catch up to the older ones.
Graduate college early, get out there, earn, all this kind of stuff. And it was like, now I'm kind of like, well, why? So I can have this.
Right. Right. So you just set yourself with a whole other set of, things to look at. Right. I know. And with me, it was realizing, I essentially had to grow up really early. Right. And I was on my own. Like it was just a lot of stuff that I was on my own. I went through a whole period of really making, pretty poor decisions, but as a child, you don't know any, whatever. And then, moving out on my own when I was 18, having to support myself and, like like go through all that stuff and support myself through college. And it was all adulting stuff, right? Or what had to be serious stuff. And so I forgot how to play
because had to do it.
Right. Someone had to do it. So I forgot.
I believed someone has to do it.
Yes. Right. Because it has to be one or the other, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so I think, that's interesting because, I went through the period of time in my late teens of, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? And as many of us did in the 80s. and so that was the playing of the escape, right? Of like, I have nothing else to do. So I'm just going to this is the way I can escape, right? So it's the only way I know how to play at the time. I lost that very early. Right. And so when I had kids, I was really yearning for it. And I did play with them a lot, but it was like, okay, that's enough. Now stop. You have to go be an adult. You have to be the one that is the cruise director. You have to be the one that runs it all. You have to, be important at work. You have to make more money. You've got to and it was all this drive. And so then my first experience leaving corporate after 17 years was what did not work for me financially in the organic herb nursery, which I did love, but I didn't love all of it. Right. So,
right.
And so that would have been one of those experiences of, love something. Yeah. Like if you love something, be careful if you do it for a living, because, it makes it different. And I get that because there are some situations where that is absolutely the truth. But is it because we have such a delineation in our minds, right? That then we think we have to give up the play part with that love to make it work. Right. And I look at, what I do here and what I've done for almost 12 years, I realized the other day, professionally, is more and more as I go, like over the years, it's been untrain yourself. Stop doing all these things you think you're supposed to do and do what comes from your heart. And it's 12 years of untraining myself that I'm still learning how to untrain myself with. Right.
Well, and discovering what it is that comes from your heart and discerning that and saying, that's the ego. Sounds like the heart because it sounds all nice and flowery and unicorn.
And it's gotten very masterful. It's sneaking in there going, oh, and if you do this, this will be more important.
Right.
So,
and all those, I don't want to say weaknesses, all those perceived deficits sneak through. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I could convince myself that this is coming from my heart because I think people will love me because of it.
Yes. And that is a very sneaky thing that the ego does with that.
Right.
And then so then what happens is there is a part of it, and this is what I've been looking at a lot over the past 2 years, right? It's like there's a part of it that is from your heart.
Yes, absolutely.
And then a part of it that is sneakily not, just from the ego. Right. And so, like you said, it's like, because they'll think this is more important. They'll like this. They'll think I'm great. Right.
Or they'll need me.
They'll need me. Right. And so the thing that I realized in looking and doing the self-reflection was the inner child just really wants to play. Right. And playing is some of the most divine energy that we have. Right. Playing it's from a place of love. It's from a place of just simply being, not having a purpose, but saying, I'm here, I'm creating. Right. Right. What does a child do when they play? Oh, I want to color now. I want to go play in the leaves now. I want to go this now and whatever. And it seems a little, we call it ADHD, but it's where our attention, and I don't know if you've ever really just watched a kid over the course of a day. They usually come around full circle to stuff. Like, it's like they go do all these 20 things and then they come back, and they usually have some kind of reasoning for how they did everything. And it has nothing to do with what you cared about or what you thought was supposed to be, the thing,
important.
Right. And so that's what I was looking at is, okay, so so to me, the biggest points of play in what I do is when I hold these retreats, right? When we do these weekends or these, week-long things or whatever, part of why I've just been drawn to do them in places where there's great nature, there's great hiking, there's great spaces to explore, right? Is because to me, that's my play. Like, that is like, I love all of that. And I would do it whether I was holding a retreat or not, because I do it all the time. Right. And that's when usually things flow so hugely, all the downloads and the understandings, and it's so big and shifting. Right. So when we go through like what we did in October, right. And then we have all the stuff that we all shift through together. And it's so easy because what are we doing? Yes, we're doing work, so to speak, but we're doing it in play, right? We're doing it in love. We're doing it in spending time together, and sharing ideas and sharing our, what's coming up, cooking together, playing together, hiking together, going out in nature and doing different things, laughing a lot, right? And that is, to me, the most expansive times ever. Like, I always have such a high coming off of those, coming home from those. And it's like, so that's when I was looking at it going, well, then why don't we just do all that all the time? Like, why don't we always just infuse that in everything we do?
Right. And, that was something I looked at all weekend long, and it was hard. It was hard to keep that focus because we get so in the mind and so task driven and goal oriented and, just be done. And I found it probably one of the most challenging things I've tried to do, because I feel like I failed miserably in looking at that this weekend from the perspective of, you got to get it done. You've only got the weekend, and Thanksgiving's coming, and you got to get this done, and you got to get this done. And it's like, you get lost in that.
Yep. And then the little inner child says, do we really have to get it done?
I know. Well, the little inner child just sits down and shuts up.
Yeah.
Because that's what they've been relegated to.
Right. That's
in
true.
my case, over the years. Because
right.
Like, it'll be better when I get here, or it'll be better when, we get to this age, or it'll be better with this job, or it'll be better with this, having kids. It'll be better when the kids are gone. There's always the next.
Right. So we get to that place of recognizing that, right? But then the next step altogether is really looking at the line that we hold, because I know so many people hold themselves back because of perceptions that are under the surface like this. Mm-hmm. If I do this too much, it will consume me and I will have no time for anything else, right? If I start, if I get too successful, my work will consume me. If I get too successful, I won't ever get to play. Instead of saying, if I truly allow myself to do what I love, it's always going to be play, no matter what. And I don't have to think of it as work. I can look at it as playing and getting paid, which is how I do it most of the time. But then, you get into the, but we've got to get serious now. We've got to do this and this and this.
It's not a real business.
Right. Well, yeah. So then we believe that we're less legitimate, right? If we're playing. It was really funny because I'll never forget, was it a couple of years ago when I had done 2 retreats back to back. So I was gone for like 2 weeks and came back, and I was talking to somebody in my Kung Fu class, and they said, oh, so blah, 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 and I was telling them I was out in Shasta and da, 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 and they're like, and they said, oh, well, at least you got to have some fun while you're working. And I said, oh no, my work is fun. Right. And I was like, no, but it is a vacation. Like, it's a vacation and I'm working. Right. It's no different to me.
Yeah, Sandy has a comment. I grew up in joy until junior high school hit and everything changed. I had to be more responsible. There were more demands and time limits. I got attention if I succeeded and got good grades. I was conditioned to work hard and not play because there was no time for me to play after all that.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we do. You're getting older now. You have to be more responsible.
Right.
And so, then the mind says, well, then how are things going to get done? And it's like, well, we can always do things playfully. Like, we can do anything playfully.
Right.
We just have to stop delineating that something is work or something is play or something is more or less responsible. Anytime we say something is more or less, it's all ego-based because it's a hierarchy of separation and duality, right? It's more this and less this. Or what if we just played and worked together all the time? What would that look like?
And you in thinking about that line you've been talking about, why do we do that? Is it because we're not worthy? We feel we're not worthy to play all the time? Or do we feel that we shouldn't like these things? So if we take the play out of it, or is it,
we have so idealized the mind, I think, right? So like this. So what comes to me is like, I'm thinking about what Sandy said. And, they have the schools like Montessori, Waldorf, like that do things completely different in terms of letting the kids play, letting them be creative, and then allowing the learning to form around their creativity versus play. And instead of separating. And I feel like that's really a jump forward, right? And allowing that, because to me, like I was saying, when I think about like, going on these retreats and stuff like that, and we're playing and laughing and talking and doing stuff together, it's very opening, right? Because we're open in a playful way, and that's our right brain, which is where our intuition is, right? So the more we connect the creativity with the playing, many say they go and do like these, like, when I was in corporate, we used to do, like team building exercises, right? We would do team building exercises and things like that. And sometimes some of the best ideas came out of that because what was it? It was actually structured play.
Right. Yeah. Michael says, I think I idealized the balance of work and play. The ego for me is the motion between the two.
Excuse me. My chair. Yes. I realized my chair was I'm like sinking as I'm talking, and I was like, what happened to my chair?
That's fun.
Yeah. Balance of work and play. Yeah, well, we all do. We idealize the balance. Oh, well, we have to be balanced. You have to have a balanced life, right?
Right.
You have to have a certain amount of work and a certain amount of play. And it's like, well, why do we have to balance it? Why don't we just combine it?
Right. And have balance in every moment.
Right.
Or
Right.
wholeness in every moment, or oneness, complete.
And culture, because culturally, we teach ourselves and each other that that's what we're supposed to do. Right.
Right.
And first it's that what makes you important is your work, right? What gives you your value.
Who you are, and it defines you.
Right.
I know that when my son was struggling through middle school, upper elementary and middle school, if he had had one of those spin fidget things, he would have been a different child, because he would have had that play that he so needed for part of him. And I mean, he's still in school now at 30, but he is getting his PhD. But he sits with one and silly putty, and that's his play while he works. And I mean, he balances it so well, and it's that perfect marriage of play and work, so to speak, even though that's what he loves.
Yeah.
But yeah, and school is like, put that away, you're not paying attention.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Right. I think fidget toys are the best. Yeah.
Right.
So Sandy says, the cycle continued until about 10 years ago. I started to play again and have been on a mission ever since to turn that around. Dance has been front and center. The Costco job started and brought back responsibilities and roles that are expected to follow. However, it's a fun job too. I'm working on doing both without separating them and keeping the job joyful at all times. Well, that's the point. That doesn't matter. Like if you're a garbage collector or, whatever, if you just allow yourself to be playful in all of it, then you start to connect all those dots, I think, in a faster way. Because I know that when I am relaxed and playful and, laughing and whatever, I connect so many dots. It's usually so overwhelming, the dots that get connected. And so it's like, why have we separated that? But I guess that's just a part of duality that we wanted to explore, And so we can say, I can have a wildly successful business and it be play all the time. Wow, right. That's freeing just to even hear that out loud, right?
Right. Well, and I think that we've also put so much of our, worthiness external, and it's who we are. And based on what we've done and what kind of job we have and the money we make, and that we've been told that play interferes with that. But actually the play allows it to just explode.
Yes. Yeah. And we minimize the play so much until it finally goes away and we forget how to play.
Right.
And it's really funny. What comes to mind is, that's so interesting. Never thought of this. In 2005, we adopted my last dog, Montana, as you know, remember Montana.
Right.
And she had been tied to a tree for the first 4 years of her life. And it was sad to me. Interestingly, I'm just thinking about, wow, she brought me so many messages that I just am now discovering. It's crazy. I remember because we had 2 other dogs at the time and we would play with the dogs all the time. Right. And I remember when we first adopted her, she didn't know how to play because nobody ever played with her.
Well, and when you're tied to a tree.
Right. I know. And it made me so sad. Right. But 2005 was the year before I left corporate. It was remember how to play. And
you were tied to that tree.
I was tied to that tree for a long time. And so I was and it was my mission for the longest time to teach her how to play, to let her play. It took her years because it had been just never introduced to her. So there are many people out there who have been brought up with that and have been allowed themselves to believe that in terms of what they've chosen. Right. And so now they've gotten to a place where they don't even know how to play because we've put so much stress on ourselves in terms of over like overstimulation, right? Too much information, too much coming at you at once, putting too much on weight on saying that we are only important. The busier we are, the more important we are, right?
Right.
So that gives us,
we get done and accomplished.
and the thing that we have to, it's so important for us to look at is we've got to give ourselves space. And that's the, meditating and giving yourself self-nourishment, but also playing is so, so, so important. Like just pure playing.
Right. Well, and one of the things that come to mind when you say that is you always say, oh, I lost track of time. That's how you know that you're playing. You've allowed yourself to step out of that construct.
Right.
And have it not dictate your actions.
Yes. I mean, and playing can be just spontaneous and momentary. Like here's like, I was thinking about this and doing my like reflection on it last week. It's like walking through the woods behind our house when we go over to the greenway. Like now it is like calf deep in leaves, right? Because the leaves have all been falling. So like my husband and I have been, when we tromp through where our path is, we just kick up all the leaves to, keep them. But it's like, we're like little kids. It's like, we're just like, because we're kicking the leaves over and it's like fun to make big piles, like being pushed by your legs as you're walking. And it's like, things like that are just little things we can do all the time. Like,
right.
Just be in the moment, play. I talk to the fairies. I always say good morning to them in the woods back there because it's a very fairy-like place. But, also it's that natural, what they call the natural wonderment and everything else. And if we shift our energy to say, everything I do can be play, including my occupation. And what if we said my importance in this world is how I play instead of my importance in this world is how I work?
Right.
Wow, that changes things tremendously.
Really does. Really does.
I think that's maybe our statement for the day is our creation statement is, what did I just say? My play makes me more important or something like that. My play makes me important, or my importance is my play. Yeah.
I like that.
Because
well, and I think that initially, if we're talking about our statement is to allow ourselves to believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you believe that it would never happen, you'll never get there.
Well, yeah, because right away the ego goes, well, I can say that, but what happens that everybody around me won't believe that? And then it goes into then they'll think I've lost my mind. They'll think this, they'll think I'm useless. They'll think I'm lazy. Right.
Right. Or the ego goes, yeah. And does that pay the rent?
Yeah, exactly. Right. It was funny because last night at dinner on Sundays, we do our family dinner together in the household. We eat together. And we were talking about, last weekend I had all the family, right? The 5 adults and 5 kids staying with us. You want to talk about play and remembering to play in your face, 2.5 to 11 years old, just constant playing, which was great. But here's the funny thing. On the way, my oldest was talking about their ride to the airport because we took all three different cars, to drive them to the airport and stuff like that on the way to drop them off. And she had said how she had been talking to the older 2 girls who are 11 and 10 and a half or whatever. And Sophia, the older one, said, she wanted to be a teacher, she thinks, and then, my daughter asked the other one, like, what do you think you want to be? And she said, yeah, I don't know yet. And she said, well, that's good. Just figure out what you love. And then, it'll be fun. And you can just, I can't remember how she said it, but you could just make a living doing that. To which the 11-year-old said, no, you can't.
Wow.
Well, because there's also a situation at home where her mother keeps on getting told that about her, what her mother's chosen heart-based path is, and keeps on getting pushed to do other things. So it's really interesting that she said that. And then it was funny because my daughter said to me, she goes, I'm so glad you guys taught us that. I'm so glad you guys taught us that it's okay to love what we do. And that, you know, that you support us in that. And I was just like, yeah. And sometimes sometimes it's difficult because then you start judging. Then the mind kicks in and goes, oh, but it's taken a long time to get there.
Right. Right.
But we have so much of that still embedded in our culture. Like, like of, you know, do what's going to make you money and then do what you like on the side.
On the weekends. Right.
In your free time.
Right.
Right. And then so sorry if what you work takes up so much time that you don't have time to do what you love. But what if you just made it what you love? Right. And so that's the whole thing that's what came to me a while ago is do what you love, because if you did it 24 hours a day and you truly love it and it's play all the time, then it doesn't feel like work and it's fine.
Right. And you could work 24/7.
And it's not tiring. It's not limiting in any way. You can incorporate it into everything else.
And that's when you find the people who are just wildly successful.
Yes.
Because it's that self-fulfilling, overflowing yumminess.
And it doesn't have to be like, it can be anything. It can be anything. The thing is to commit to your love of play, right? To your creation, to your intuition and creativity, and doing things that constantly spark and ignite that, right? To allow it to infuse into everything. Right? Because we have that line, okay, I can play, and then there's this line. But the more we play, the more I think play naturally gets infused into everything else, right? You have a natural tendency to want to play. So the funniest thing is we did have such a fun time with our kids growing up and did a lot of pranks and like fun. And it was partially because I was so starved for play when I was a kid. I was like, I won't do that with my kids. Right. And in a way, my kids have taught me how to play, like as they grew up. Right. But I realized when the kids were here, my sister's grandkids were here last weekend, that now my kids are grown up, we play in a different way, but it's like, oh, don't forget that play too. Like, don't forget the play, just the simple kid playing, we played kickball. I hadn't played kickball in probably like 35 years.
Not 40 sure years. I can remember the last time.
And it was fun. Oh my God. And we were just laughing.
And I think the last time I played, I think I broke my sandal. Because I was irresponsible and played in sandals.
Crazy. But I mean, and it's like something as simple as that is so, number one, what happens when we play? We bond with each other, right? We come from a place of love, because that's all the laughter is about, is like letting yourself just enjoy the moment. And the more we infuse like life with, I'm just going to infuse love and play and love, enjoying this moment. It doesn't matter what we're doing. And then we're just naturally attracted to doing the things that naturally come out when we do that, right? Which will just be what we do. So, and of course, why wouldn't we want to do that and make money doing it?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the importance. If we said from a consciousness standpoint, everybody's like talking about, oh, how do we get to enlightenment and right? If we said pretty straight out and connected these dots very blatantly and said, when we play, we raise our vibration to a state of love and connectedness, right? The way to enlightenment is the state of love and connectedness at all times. So why would we not want to play all the time to help us remember how to be in that space?
Right. Yeah. That alignment.
I mean, and it's implied, but let's just say it straight out, because it doesn't make sense that we go, this is enough now. Oh, put the play away, be an adult, be a grown up.
Right.
Because that's what's going to make you important. Well, what if really the importance truly is the play and we're just putting it in a box?
Right. Yep.
That's what we're here to do today. So I guess that's where we get to the creation statement, which is
Yeah.
how about I'm worthy to? I love like doing the worthy to, remember
But yeah,
how
the
to.
worthiness I think is key here.
Yeah, I am worthy to. I remember how to, and I allow myself to play, infuse play and fun in every moment and everything I do. And what if we said, the more I play, the more successful I am?
Right. Yeah, I love
Or,
that.
or the more I play, the more success it creates for me.
Yes.
That feels good.
Yes.
And I allow that with an open heart and allowing all possibilities, and joy and love in every moment. Oh, that makes it so easy.
Right.
Yes. All right. Well, let's go do that, shall we?
Do it.
All right. So, as we always do, close our eyes, take a deep breath, relax as we step out of separation back into wholeness and oneness. And we hold ourselves at the vibration where this is our truth. This is from where we exist, experience, and create. Right.
Wow, I was out there. Totally
I was
lost
too.
us.
I was too. I just sort of popped back and was like, oh, it's been almost 10 minutes. I guess we should get back.
Wow, that was incredible.
It was because I kept on getting and add to this, like I erase the line between work and play. And the more that I play with my work, the more, the more prosperous I become, like it was like all these things that just came, and it was like popping all these bubbles of separation that just allowed things to just like, it was like I kept on seeing when you do when people do that art with the paint, like they put it in the cup and they turn it over and they pull the cup out and they have the different colors and it sort of like all comes together in these really cool designs.
Yeah.
And that's what I kept on seeing was like stuff just twisting and turning and making these beautiful designs. And I was like, yeah, that and everything, that was really nice.
I started out seeing all of us tethered to like this big heavy chain, this old chain, and immediately I thought of slavery and how we've allowed certain facets of our population to be enslaved at times for the delineation of those that do the work are the slaves, and then those that enjoy the benefits of it. And it was just like, once I really saw it, that's really what it was. It was like the chain just turned to smoke. And it was like, yeah, that's something huge to release collectively.
Right.
Is that delineation and that creation of slavery. So, yes. Which still does exist today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, whether we call it that or not, right?
Right. Right.
Nice. Yeah. Very nice. Oh, well, what a great week to go and let yourself play. Right. In the US, it's Thanksgiving week. So a lot of people are on vacation this week and stuff. Outside the US, you can still play. We're fast into the holiday season. So
yes. Awesome.
So make that your priority this week, is allow yourself to infuse that play. My crown is just so tingling right now. Right. Infusing everything with the play, the energy of fun and joy and laughter and play. Even if it's like the most, what the ego says is the most boring thing or whatever, make it fun. Sandy says, lol, a Facebook memory just popped up about remembering to play. It's always aligned.
Always perfect.
Always perfect. All right, everyone. So have a great week. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time. This is Angela Coulter and
Sarah Seed.
And we'll see you next week for Ascended World. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.